That's not going to happen anytime soon, though, because we don't have any money. And the reason we don't is kind of a long story, but it basically has to do with a hot tub falling through our roof. Crunch! We've been living in Grandma's basement for 2 months, and I don't know how much longer we can keep going like this. Mom says that one day we'll look back on this time and smile. But she's not the one who has to share a futon with Roderick every night, who snores super loud and kicks me in the face. The crazy thing is, Grandma's got plenty of room in her house, so I don't understand why our whole family has to stay in her basement. When we first got here, I called dibs on the guest room, but Grandma said it was already taken by her dog, Sweetie. I don't think Grandma's too thrilled we're living with her, because whenever her friends come over, she asks us to stay out of sight. And that's kind of inconvenient, since there isn't a bathroom in the basement, and her friends always stay forever, playing cards at the kitchen table right outside the basement door. We can't use the kitchen when Grandma's got guests, which means we can't eat dinner until after they're gone. But last night, I guess Roderick got sick of waiting, so he heated up some leftover pizza in Grandma's dryer. There's no TV in Grandma's basement, so the only thing we've got to entertain ourselves with is each other. And believe me, watching Mom and Manny perform the evening news as a puppet show is not enough. Mom says being bored is good, because it makes you use your imagination. But whenever I try it, I always end up imagining the exact same thing. Roderick blasting off from our futon on a rocket ship to outer space. Something that's making the situation a lot harder is that Dad is working from home this summer, which means he's always around. And whenever Dad has a meeting, the rest of us have to pretend we're not there. But that's not always easy to do, especially when you've got a naked 3-year-old running in front of the computer monitor. Most of the time, I just try to keep myself busy. Grandma's got stacks of puzzles down in the basement, and I've done a few of them by myself. But Mom always lets Manny put in the last piece to make him feel important. If you ask me, I don't think Mom's doing Manny any favors by babying him. And it's gotten a lot worse since we started living at Grandma's. Sometimes, after dinner, we'll play a board game as a family, but Manny can't handle complicated rules, so we always end up playing a game that doesn't require any skill, like slides and rainbows. We have to go to bed before it's even dark outside, because we're all on Manny's schedule. These days, Manny's favorite bedtime story is a Noah's Ark picture book. It's about this guy who hears it's going to rain for a really long time, so he builds a giant boat to ride out the storm with a bunch of animals. The illustrations in Manny's book are all cartoons, and they make it look like a flood that wiped out half the earth was kind of fun. But I guess if the drawings were more realistic and showed all the other animals and people drowning, parents wouldn't buy it for their preschoolers. I've got some questions about the Noah's Ark story, though. For starters, I want to know why Noah let venomous creatures like snakes and scorpions on board, because if it was me, I would have used the opportunity to leave a few of those guys behind. And then I would have used the extra space for more of the good animals, like puppies and hedgehogs and those pygmy hippopotamuses. Luckily, Noah didn't have to make room on board for whales and fish, because they would have taken up a ton of space, and they probably didn't even know the flood was happening to begin with. But it doesn't make a lot of sense that Noah let birds on the ark, since they could have just flown, and I bet he regretted that decision as soon as they started going number 2 everywhere. You only hear about the animals that survived the flood, but sometimes I wonder if there were some cool animals that didn't make it into the boat, like the 2-headed rhinoceros, the alligator duck, and the platypus horse beaver. The way the story goes, After it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, it took 150 days for the floodwater to go back down. That means Noah was stuck on the boat with a bunch of animals, plus his wife and 3 sons. And whenever I feel sorry for myself living in Grandma's basement with my family, I think about Noah, and it makes me feel a little better. Mom keeps saying she's glad we're all together right now, because she feels like time has slowed down. I've noticed that too, but for me, it's not a good thing. Nothing slows down time like Mom teaching Manny the alphabet. Walrus. Something that's making this summer feel really long is that I can't go to my friend Rowley's house. And that's because he's off on some big European vacation with his family. When Rowley first told me about his family's plans, I tried to see if his parents might let me tag along. But I guess Mr. and Mrs. Jefferson aren't as sharp as I thought they were, because they never picked up on any of my hints. I'll bet your trip would be more fun if you had a friend along. Yep. Wonder who might like to come. So now Rowley's probably off having the time of his life while I'm doing 500-piece puzzles in my grandmother's basement. I think Mom feels bad we can't afford to do something special this summer, so she's been trying to make up for it. She says we can go anywhere we want if we just use our imaginations. But to be honest, cardboard cutouts of boats and tourist attractions like the Eiffel Tower aren't really doing it for me anymore. I think Mom's finally had enough, too, because last night she called a family meeting after dinner to brainstorm ideas for vacations that we can afford.